Okay, so Andrew, now that the first series of The Ones Who Live is available for UK viewers, how excited are you for all of the wealthy UK fans to see this show that you've been working so hard on and the next upcoming chapter in the story?
I'm so excited. I mean, it's been a long wait. Let's not, I've waited, I think it's 4 years since I was back on the mothership, 4.5 years, I think, including sort of COVID-y times. But yeah, Denai, myself, and Scott were sort of building this idea that sort of has been percolating for many years, of how we reunite these lovers, and also tell a bigger story about what the grown-ups have been up to while we've been trying to survive in Atlanta, Georgia. So there were lots of exciting aspects to this show that we really couldn't wait for the British public to see, certainly. And I know that there has been a little bit of a delay between US transmission and this, and I've had lots of people come up to me in the street going, excuse me, could, could we could we get the show over here, please? So
Yeah,
finally,
absolutely.
I'm thrilled that it's over here. Yeah.
Yeah, as we all are, Andrew, as we all are. I'm so excited to watch. And as you mentioned, there's been a big wait for yourself, about 4 years. So when you initially found out about The Ones Who Live becoming a series, were you skeptical about the journey that Rick was going to take, or did you have full faith that the arc would continue to develop Rick, especially as the love story between him and Michonne has been developing and continues to over so many years?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, look, every season that I've done in The Walking Dead, there's always been, either Scott or whomever was sort of the architect of that series would say, this is where we want Rick to be, this is where we want him to go, and this is where we want him to finish, And the big fortunate, sort of the greatest, and the reason I kept returning to it was because they kept pulling and pushing and bending and stretching this character into so many sort of emotional contortions. And I sort of said the only reason to come back is if the story's good enough, and if we see Rick in a place we've never seen him before. Let's do something different. And I think that we threaded the needle on both those counts. And also we wanted to tell hopefully a bigger story, a more epic, sort of grander scale to what we've been used to. Much more about civilization, about a bigger world, and a potential restart of humanity. So there were lots of grand themes, but essentially what it is a love story. It's about, can these people are they the same people after all this time and space apart? And, is Rick the same person? Is Michonne the same person? And can potentially they heal one another through their love and be the people they once were?
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing for you to mention because I felt that from watching the trailer, we see Rick emerge as a slightly darker character from the sheriff we seen in season one. So it seems like he's changed. Obviously, we'll have to wait and watch the series to find out. But do you think that Rick being in that slightly darker place potentially is going to cause a problem between him and Michonne? Was it interesting, as you said, to be an emotional contortionist and to change?
Well, I think we wanted to, of course, the reunion is, it's the idea. I think what we try to work on is the idea that it's a time and tested thing. Will the redemptive power of love? I mean, will, in spite of what's happened to Rick, and we had to cover quite a lot of distance in the first two episodes, are very, I think, very well constructed by Scott Gimple. We did a sort of interesting, I mean, it was just a different way of sort of filming. It was much more POVs of both characters because we had two different time frames to collide, and also we had to catch up with where Rick's gone, what happened to him, la la la. So there were essentially two movies, yeah, individual movies that collide in end of episode two, and then it becomes a much more sort of standard two-hander. Um, but yeah, so the structure was different, which was quite exciting, and it also afforded us the opportunity to perhaps, describe and color in a bit more of the mythologies of this new place and introduce lots of new great characters.
Yeah. And it wasn't even the series that was new to you, the fictional locations. The series was filmed in New Jersey, very different, of course, to the Atlanta heat. It's very British to talk about the weather. Georgia was super hot. New Jersey was super cold. You even mentioned at one point it started snowing and a single tear emerged from your face. Where would be the ideal place for you if the story was continued that you think you could see the story going, or potentially a different Walking Dead spin-off?
I mean, I'd love to go to Hawaii. It'd be great to be there because I mean,
Yeah.
that would be my dream. Yeah, surfs up zombie style. But
Yeah.
you know, I think if there were another opportunity to tell this story, I quite like the idea of paring it really back down to basics again, and also
Yeah.
putting these characters in it, you know, really sort of cranking up. This was the story that we're trying to tell is a much more epic love story. It's a bigger scale. It's quite grander scale of sort of storytelling and world building, but essentially at the heart of it is this love story. But what I would like to do is, if I was to direct it or something, would be to remember the scene when he lights the match going down the stairs when he's in the hospital, when Rick wakes up, and it's
Yeah.
terrifying and it's dark, and all he has is that match and it keeps going out, and he's hearing these noises and he's very disorientated. I want to bring it back to that, to sort of pare it right down, to bring it back to the very simplistic survival horror that it essentially always was, and to
Yeah.
and make these characters, you know, to maybe hamstring them a little bit, make sure that they, you know, like tie one hand behind their back, because they're all such accomplished, kind of extraordinary, competent, heroic characters. And I think to make them compromised again, and the audience, them on the back foot and the audience on the back foot, would be really exciting.
Yeah. That's much like season 9 of the Mothership show, where it essentially became a Western at one point. They really had to strip everything back to basics and completely rebuild this world. It's
Yeah,
very similar in a sense.
yeah.
And speaking of relationships on screen, also off screen, the cast are really tight. It's great to see friendships emerge. I have to ask about this prank battle. Of course, in the Mothership, yourself and Norman Reedus had one going. Denai shared with fans online that you played a prank on her of you and PA Mahoney in full velour and left pictures all over her trailer. I have to ask, what was the inspiration behind that? And Denai did say she would retaliate. Was there any retaliation on set?
There was a retaliation. She was well, basically what it was is because we were in New Jersey, and there was a Mahoney, who was one of my favorite human beings, is a local, and he said that he called me Cuz, because they all call each other Cuz, and so we dressed up. He said, "Come on, you've got to get the velour on. You've got to get the Sopranos look going on, soprano." So we did, and we did this whole thing, and we had a sort of Sopranos day on set. Yeah, and I thought I was building my new character for my new spin-off.
In Hawaii.
Well, it was probably Ricky Dicky Doodah Grimes. It was probably Doodah reboot. But anyway, I was sort of wearing all of that, and then so I just thought, and I plastered it all around in her trailer, and then she waited. She's really good tonight. She waited, and then she I don't know what she was doing, but she put these she put these microphones in my in my dressing room, and there were weird laughing noises, like really quite scary. And we were doing a night
Oh.
shoot. Yeah, and it was her laughter, or just weird laughter, and I didn't know what was going on. And she had a camera in there filming me.
Oh,
But,
goodness.
but then someone came in who was working on the set, and we had really, really sort of quite, you know, they were having a tough old time. We were having this conversation, so it was all captured on film. So
Yeah.
she couldn't post any of it because it was,
Oh no.
we were having a real heart to heart. So she was a bit thwarted that she couldn't actually pay back fully online.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad she had an attempt at
I
least.
know. Don't worry about it. It's always going on.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. That's my time. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you
Likewise.
so
I hope
much
you
for your
enjoy
time.
the show.
Yep, sure I will. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Bye.